So I think there might be a lot more going on with the Dark Pictures Anthology than you might have realised, and I want to make a quick video just to talk about that because I think that there is potential here for me delving in and exploring the lore and perhaps even doing a couple of theories on these games. But rather than actually look at the games individually, I've started to look at these games as a series or as a shared world or a universe or whatever you want to say. Now, this really started for me in the latest game, in House of Ashes. So you might have seen the House of Ashes came out, but what you might not know is that House of Ashes is just the latest in an anthology. The Dark Pictures Anthology is this series of horror games, and they're really unique because they can all be played in co-op. They have a real high production value. Graphically, these games are absolutely phenomenal, and while I do think that Man of Medan, which was the first game in the series, made a couple of mistakes or maybe wasn't quite as high quality as the later games.
Just trying to make everyone laugh.
A mouth looks so weird there.
Yeah, they haven't quite got it yet in this one.
That was
It's clear that these games are being improved upon every single time, and I think that graphically House of Ashes was absolutely phenomenal. The motion cap, for example, has been improved greatly, but just graphically these games are stunning, and they're all very story driven, which, let's be honest, is not for everybody. Not everybody enjoys a very heavily story driven game, and in fact, a way you could think about these games is almost like a grown-up Telltale. Like Telltale, if you're familiar with the Telltale games, they were basically a choose your own adventure, and they were almost like a comic book style art style and presentation, whereas the Dark Pictures is a very similar sort of gameplay, except it's with much better graphics and the storylines are a bit darker, well, arguably a bit darker. The Walking Dead got fairly dark, to be fair. But the more I play these games, the more I notice that they are following completely separate stories. So Man of Medan, for example, has a completely different cast of characters and a completely different story to House of Ashes. But all of these stories are interconnected, and more than I originally thought. I thought that we were just getting little Easter eggs to one story or another. Just for example, I've just replayed through Man of Medan, which is the first game, and there was a reference to the archaeologists that show up heavily in House of Ashes, which was 2 games later. There was Little Hope between this game as well. And this game, House of Ashes, references Little Hope, and I actually even think there might be a further, deeper story going on between all of these games. If you don't know, if you're not aware, I would highly recommend that you play these games, by the way, but if you're not aware of what's going on, in every single game, you are being told the story by the curator. The curator is this really mysterious guy who I already have theories about him. I think there's things going on with the curator that nobody seems to be really talking about, but I think I maybe have a solid theory that I'm currently getting evidence for and trying to get some footage for as well. But he's definitely mysterious, and this whole time he's the one that's telling the story, but the story's being written while you're listening to it, if that makes sense. So your options and your decisions will change the story, and it seems like he's almost writing the story while he's telling it. It's really weird. This guy is very confusing, but he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be very mysterious. I watched the video from the developers where they were explaining how they came up with this character, and they were very clear that they wanted this character to be very ambiguous. For example, is he helping you or is he hindering you? They want you to be asking those questions. So already the developers are saying this guy is a mystery and we don't really want you to know what he's about, and there's a lot of elements there that they were very vague about. But I think I maybe have a good idea of what's going on, or at least an entertaining, fun theory about what's going on. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm delving into the lore of this universe, and I'm going through with like a fine-tooth comb. I've played House of Ashes twice. I've already played Man of Medan multiple times. I played it again yesterday, and I'm going to be going through Little Hope very shortly too, just so I can look for more evidence to what's going on. I have a theory about the curator, but I also have a theory about what connects all of these stories together, because I don't think they are as separate as we once thought. I originally thought that these stories were just going to be completely separate stories with little Easter eggs in them for the other ones, whereas now I'm on the other side of the fence. I think this is one big conspiracy. I think there is a common story being told in the background, especially sort of towards like the endings of the games, but also during the middle of the games. I think there are little clues that this whole anthology is going to lead into some form of like Avengers style. It was all connected all along. I'm just using Avengers because everybody knows it, but I do think there is definitely some form of greater story here, which is just doesn't seem to be, nobody seems to be talking about it. which is really odd to me because as soon as I played House of Ashes and I started to notice the connections between Man of Medan and I started to get this idea of the overall story, I was like, this is really clever. Why is nobody talking about this crazy, like, potential, you know, like, game spanning universe? Because apparently there's going to be 8 games. There's 8 games planned in this series. There was Man of Medan, there was Little Hope, there was House of Ashes, which just came out. The next one's going to be The Devil in Me or The Devil Inside. I forget what it's called. I could probably look back in the footage, but I can't be bothered. It's something to do with the devil. The next one, by the way, if you haven't seen, looks really good. It looks like it's going to go really classic horror style with some form of like a serial killer, but he looks like he's like a Riddler style, maybe like a Saw style serial killer, because he has this doll which seems to be made out of like the remains of a person, and he's rigged it up so that it moves and talks, and I love it. I'm looking forward to that game so much. And I mean, I've enjoyed all 3 of these games so far, and I want to play that. A couple of people in the comments on my post, by the way, have asked, is Until Dawn a part of this shared world? And I don't think so, because that was a Sony exclusive. And even though the game is very similar and features very similar themes, especially when it comes to the themes of is it a demon or actually it's not, which is a common theme in all 3 games, I think it's a very similar thing, and I think they drew inspiration from that. But I actually don't think it's part of the same universe, because that game doesn't feature the curator. That game features I think it was a psychiatrist as the narrator. So even though it's a very similar game and it could easily fit in this universe or this world, I don't think that it is. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I should go back and replay that one and see if there was anything, but I think that was a completely separate one. Anyway, before I get too rambly, I'm kind of just putting this out there as a, do you guys want to hear more of this universe? Do you want to hear my theories on it? Do you want to hear my ideas? Because I have some very you know, solid, I think, video ideas that I could delve into, but it's taking a lot of time, it's taking a lot of work. So I just want to kind of know if you guys are interested, and I guess I'll see how this video does. I'll see what the interest is there. If it is there, I'll keep digging. If it isn't there, maybe I won't. But I will absolutely 100% be playing The Devil Inside on this channel, because I have enjoyed these 3 games so much. I really have, and I know that the reviews on them are a little bit mixed, but I think that's because it's really going to depend what you like in a video game. These games are essentially movies, or interactive movies that you get to interact in. There is a lot of sitting back and watching, and also there is a bit of a nuance to them. These games are quite niche, I think, because there is a little bit of nuance to the style of game that I don't think everybody's going to like. And that's totally okay, by the way. Like, not everybody's going to like every type of game. But I do think that if you like horror and you like very heavily story-driven games, and especially if you're like me and you like going through like evidence and piecing things together slowly, you know, bit by bit, like just like Marvel did with every single end credit scene leading into the overall shared universe, this game's doing exactly the same thing. And if you like that style of like, oh, what could be coming next, let's try and theorize, then I think this is great. And I'm really surprised that there isn't more buzz, I guess. I'm just surprised there aren't more videos about this as a whole shared universe. I'm very surprised. But anyway, let me know down in the comments, do you want to see more of this shared universe? Just let me know in the comments. Just tell me if you do. Tell me if you have any ideas, because I'd love to hear your ideas as well. But yeah, we'll see how this video does, and maybe I'll be delving into this universe a little bit more deeply. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.